Marshall was going to UM. Is that true?
Yeah. So I got a friend. I was tight with the University of Miami staff because it was Dennis Erickson's staff. It was Ed Ogeron.
Gotcha.
It was Alex Woods. It was Bukowski. It was Carmelowitz, Greg Smith. All those guys I knew. Some of them from Idaho, some of them from different places, but I knew them all because if you remember, Dennis went to Wyoming one year, then went to Washington State.
Yeah.
And so when he left Wyoming and Washington State and Idaho was two border towns, and so the staffs would get together and we would talk ball, and that's how I learned ball. I did a lot of listening. I would tell all these young coaches out here who think they've made it, man, you better listen.
Yeah.
Listen to these coaches with some wisdom. And I would just sit there and listen. I'd be a sponge on the wall. I remember me and Tom Cable would just be like listening in awe because it was great. It was great coaches. So I got tight with Alex Woods. So coming down here, the first story is this. I got an even funnier one. I get off the airplane coming to San Diego State. Now here's the deal. When I took the job, I was still in college. I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have anything. I just didn't have one. It's not that I couldn't get one. I just never wanted to. I just thought credit. I always heard probably from my father, credit cards are bad.
Yeah.
You don't want to use them. So I get off the plane and this little guy comes and get my bags and, help me pick my kids up from school because at the time I was separated and I had my kids and do all those things. It was Sean Payton. First one when I got off the plane, that's who I met. Sean Payton.
Wow.
And so that's where we met. Eager, fun, life of the party.
Yeah.
Good guy. Met him, and so then, so I saw Marshall kind of, when I first saw Marshall at the high school, I thought it was a joke.
What you mean?
Well, because he doesn't look like the typical running back. You think a running back's gonna be big, tall, muscular, husky, and I was like, and so Wayne Reese, here's the thing, your grandfather knew Eddie Flint and all the people at Carver.
Yeah.
So when I was going different places, my daddy would precede me because he went to school with those longtime teachers and coaches.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I would just tell, hey, Daddy, look, you know anybody at Carver? You know anybody at Booker T? He graduated from Booker T. You know anybody at McMahon? You know anybody at Douglas? And so he knew people probably everywhere because not only was he known, but he was also a Zulu member of the Zulu Club.
Yes.
And which is a local club that, most affluent black men are. I'm a Zulu member now.
Yeah. You're also in a fraternity.
Also Alpha.
Okay.
Yeah, my fraternity brothers.
All right.
It's our Founders Day today.
Okay. It is?
Yes.
Wow.
And so I would go in, and when I saw Marshall, I'm looking for this big, because you hear about this guy from Carver that's going to play DB. He's going to Nebraska. He's going to Miami. He's going to LSU. He's going to one in Texas A&M was the other one. He's going there. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go see him. Because one thing about me, I'm bold.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, you're not going to intimidate me. I'll go and see a player, or you're not going to intimidate me with your knowledge. It's one thing you're not going to do.
Okay.
And so at a young age, I'm going up there. I go up to see him. And when Coach Reese take me in the room and he pulled him out of class, he said, that's Marshall Faulk. I'm like, he's lying. Because he was, lower body looked good, but he was kind of round. He was pear-shaped. He didn't have the big muscles or whatever. And I'm thinking about the running backs I've seen, like Wayne Pittman.
Yeah.
Saw him.
Yeah, he's muscular.
You remember Darren, Darren Wagner. Man from San Diego State. You remember, he was the man back there. He was, man. And so I'm looking at Marshall, and I'm like, this can't be it. And so I go back. I said, Coach, can I watch film? Well, Reese said, yeah, you got to go back in the back of the gym and watch the film. So I put the film on. And the first film was all DB. And when you see him as a DB, he's like, man, this guy's he's going to, and I hadn't talked to Marshall yet. Marshall was quiet and reserved. I said, this guy's going to play DB. He's going to play 10 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just instinct, just jumping routes and catch it. And then when he jumps the route, he scores. I guarantee you, I saw 10 picks, touch sixes. Guarantee 10. And then he was tough, And so I get in, and So I'm back in the back. I'm spending a day at Carver High School. I didn't have anywhere else to go. St. Aug's guys shut me out. Didn't have nothing there, nothing at Clark. 35, I was probably dilly-dallying with a couple of those guys. But I would set a day for New Orleans area, West Bank.
Got you.
River Parish. I'd always have a day for those. So I turn on the film, and it's one game, and I never forget, he's played against Abramson. Man, he breaks 9 tackles. And Abramson got some dudes.
Yeah.
And he I look at it, rewind it on the old clicker. Man, it's going. I couldn't believe the run. The one run, I was convinced. I said, no, he could play running back. I knew he wanted to play running back because I had friends that would tell me, hey, Marshall Faulk want to be a running back. So lo and behold, he comes in the gym and we sit down, we talk for a minute, and he's looking at me, kind of looking around and say he ain't interested. So he said, hey, look, I'm going to get my hair cut. Mark, remember his Mark? Lived right across the street from the school. Bruno lived across the street from the school. And so I said, okay, I'm going to get a haircut too. So Bruno cut my hair, cut his hair. We talked, kind of relaxed. And it wasn't the coaches talk. We just talking about New Orleans. And man, where I get a good po' boy from? Who got chicken breast fried? Yeah. Popeyes or chicken, churches. You know the talk. Where I get a good snowball from? And everybody, it's just talking. And so
was George around?
I hadn't met George yet. Okay. George was in the school, but I hadn't met him and all the other ones. I hadn't met George.
Do you remember him playing basketball?
Yeah, George. Yep. Remember, George was good basketball.
God, okay.
George was good. George was a good football player too.
Really?
Yeah. So I leave, and no commitment on the visit or nothing like that, because I think he had 5 visits already. He already had 5 visits set. And so then I called, Coach Reese called me. He said, man, I don't know what you did to that kid, Marshall Faulk, but he's excited about San Deigo State. I don't know why. Coach Reese, I said, okay.
Was Dax with him yet?
No, didn't meet him yet, but I met them after he signed.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, this is crazy fate. Sometimes something bad could turn into something good. So we had to dress with a tie and all those things at San Deigo State when you go on the road. I probably shouldn't have. I stopped doing it. I started wearing just a polo shirt. Yeah. But Al wanted us to do a certain way, because Al was a great recruiter in his own right.
Gotcha.
He recruited some guys like Mike Haynes, who's Hall of Famer, and all those. That's from Arizona State. Al recruited those guys. So I tried to set up a visit. Finally set up the visit. And Marshall was like, I said, you sure you won't come to San Deigo State on a visit? He said, yeah. He was one word. I said, man, you got to stop one word in me. So I was getting him to talk a little bit. The day before the visit, his father passes away. And it was like the last weekend of the visit, because it would turn into a dead period.
Yeah.
After that. And so he said, I'm coming on a visit. He said, this is business. This is about business for me. Something,
Yeah.
We get to the airport, got my suit on and everything. I say, hey, look, we get fogged in.
You're in New Orleans.
In New Orleans.
Because you went to go fly with him.
My weeks would end. You plan your weeks.
Got you.
Because I was coming down to visit kids. Yeah. Had to visit Ray Peterson. Probably came up to your house to visit Fred.
Yep.
And so then I'd drive back. I'd get my cousins, Papa Boone, Darryl, whoever, Marcus would drive with me, because Shreveport, that's a 6-hour drive. Yeah. And then I got to get to this one. I got to get to the next one over here in New Orleans. And, so we fogged in. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So the fog is bad, it's bad. So we end up getting out. Probably the flight was supposed to leave at 4. We don't even get out the airport till about 9 o'clock at night. Stop in Houston, bam, to San Diego, Continental Airlines, or Dallas, one of them. Never forget. And so we in the airport here, I say, hey, look, you want to go back home, man? He say, no, I'm coming. I say, okay, well, look, here's the deal. I'm taking off the suit. So I'm going to change. I'm going to put some sweats on.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking it all off. I say, look, you can relax yourself. Look, I say, I can't recruit you no more, man. I've been with you all day. He said, nah, you good, we good. We got something to eat, sat down, start talking. Just talking. Get on the plane. Thought he had a good visit. So I never forget leaving San Diego State after the visit, 48-hour visit. Ron Mims, Al Luke, and Bill called me back. He said, look, we don't have to worry about one thing. We know Marshall Faulk's not coming to San Diego State. That's what they told me. He said, he's not, there's no way he's coming to San Diego State. I say, I got to wait and see. No money involved. I was too poor for that. Nothing. Yeah. The thing was, Marshall is strong-willed, and he is a little bit of opposite man. Like I call Trey opposite man.
Yeah.
He's going to go against the grain. They told him he couldn't play running back at Miami. They told him at LSU he couldn't play running back. He said, I want to play running back. I said, well, we're going to give you an opportunity. And on the strength of that, he came to San Diego State to play running back. And we ended up having a great relationship.
Yeah.
I could make him laugh and joke with him and stuff like that. And he knew I was poor like he probably was at the time. Just kind of vibe with him, and it was good. And he came to San Diego State, and the first day of practice, Al wanted everybody to play defense. He didn't come to practice.
What?
The next day, Al wanted everybody to play defense. I mean, it's an old school thing.
Yeah.
The next day, offense. And so the next day he came, and man, first scrimmage, never forget, he was running inside zone, hit it and went like 80. Came back, ran inside zone again, bounced it outside, ran about another 80-yard run. And it was like, golly, you got to be kidding me. Who's this kid? Smart. Was smart back then.
Yeah.
And still didn't start him, and then kids get hurt.
And then he comes in and breaks the record.
Break the NCAA record as a freshman. Then Al was so smart. Al said, well, you can't lose your starting job over an injury. And then the next day, the running back comes in, TC Wright, comes in Hawaii, he comes in late. That was it. Oh, he's 1 minute late. That's what I wanted. CJ, tell Marshall he started. That was it. The rest was history.
Wow.
Thank God it's not today, because he would be at some other school.
Yeah.
And he would have, he'd have got $2 million.
Yeah. So I coached Antonio Brown at high school, Richard Gordon. I had Alvin at JUCO. I didn't know probably until Alvin what special was. Did you know Marshall was special like that?
No.
You didn't?
Look, I knew Marshall was different.
Gotcha.
But not as good as Marshall was. What made Marshall different to me was how smart he was. Man, he was smart. Back then he was smart. Everywhere he was smart. And it was book smart, but beyond book smart, he was smart.
I remember you telling me when I was living with you in San Diego, he was like, you said one thing about Marshall. What y'all used to call him Rush. One thing about Rush is no matter what he do, he always gonna get up and work out.
He gonna work out.
And that stuck with me.
He gonna work out.
Like whatever I do, I gotta get up and work. I can stay out all night long, do whatever, but the next morning is a new day, and you got an obligation.
It may be a Louisiana thing. That's why I love Louisiana players. In football, it may be something, but Louisiana got Ed Reed, same thing. Reggie White, same thing. Sick, whatever. If we put our mind, say we're gonna do it, I'm watching that at my high school. They come to work.
Yeah.
I love Louisiana kids for that.
One of my favorite players of all time was Darnay Scott. What's something you remember about him?
Darnay and Marshall came in together. They were really good friends, and I would say 2 weeks into camp. Now we had Pat Rowe, who was second round draft choice for the Cleveland Browns. Had messed his knee up, or he would have been a great pro. But man, 2 weeks into training camp, I knew then Darnay was better. I knew Darnay was better than Pat. Now both of them started, and I had to work Darnay in. But man, Darnay was athletic, basketball player. I love football players that play basketball, ran track.
Hoop. Yeah, he
could hoop, man. He could run, he could jump. Man, and he was high cut, but he could cut. You know, a lot of high cut guys can't transition as well, but he could. Like your guy Brown. Yeah. One thing about him, man, he's short stock. He can transition, strong legs. He can do all those things. Whereas Darnay was just high cut, could run by, he could do. You know, Darnay was opposite of Marshall because Darnay wouldn't work out.
Yeah,
but Marshall always did though.
You brought up Ray Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel, but this is my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Scotty Hammond could have been like way more than what happened.
Well, here's the thing with Ray. Understand, Ray and like Larry Maxey was the slots. So we had
Larry Maxey.
Slot, you know. Yeah. Will Tate was a slot. So we had three good slots, but Will was always hurt. Larry, we couldn't figure out, okay, because Marshall would get hurt.
Yeah.
Do we put Larry in the backfield? Do we do this? So Ray Peterson, which he had a good career at San Deigo State. Scotty Hammond, if you look at Scotty Hammond, he could have been the modern day Andre Johnson.
Really?
Because Scotty Hammond, understand what Scotty Hammond did. Scotty Hammond was a junior, and in California, there's sections.
Yeah.
And he won a section in 100 meters. It was all those guys was in it. Scotty Hammond, Darnay. I mean, you name everybody from UCLA on down.
Yeah.
You know, Conway, Curtis Conway, all those guys were Johnny Morton. All those guys were in there, and man, he won it. Scotty won it. Scotty beat him. Beat them all. Beat all those fast guys.
Yeah.
And so to say that and as a junior, you know, and but the opposite of Scotty Hammond to me was Will Blackwell. Will Blackwell. Sean Payton recruited Will. Me and Sean.
He ended up going to the Giants. Denver.
Okay. Steelers and somewhere else.
Gotcha.
He wasn't fast, but man, he would get the ball. He would go. He was a go-getter.
Yeah.
He reminded me a little bit of Mike Thomas. Mike is. Man, he just wasn't fastest guy, but he could separate. He's going to catch it.
Yeah.
And so, but man, Will Blackwell was a heck of a player.
San Diego State was great. I was a net guy. I got smart because to get on TV. I knew that every time, Marshall would score, the camera would go to him. So I would pull my net up, drop my net, and then go get some water right behind Marshall. I got on ESPN a couple times. So, all right. So, San Diego State. If we win, we going to the Hula Bowl. Aloha Bowl. Goop throws the ball. Darnay catches it, but it's out of bounds. Darnay just walks off the field, go to school. Next day, come home, you're on the couch. And you say, I got fired. And I'm like, what is wrong with this dude? What we gonna do? We homeless? Like,
Look,
what?
No, never.
No, I'm saying me. Like, you get fired and you're laughing. But that's when I learned, like, you just gotta figure it out.
Yeah, look. The one thing I've had for a long time and didn't practice it, I practiced the Lord. I understood it.
Yeah.
I understood. God got a plan for you no matter what you do or how the circumstances are. And whatever he does, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. I never worried about it. I got fired from the Saints. Never worried about it.
Yeah.
Probably won't be my last time I get fired.
Yeah.
Never worried about it. Just whatever it was, I had to find out what we were going to do next. I went on some interviews now, and I went on the Arizona State interview. Could have had the job, but the guy told me, you got to explain to me how you going to take care of your kids, because I had my kids, and I think he was still living with me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, my kid's coming with me. He said, well, what you going to explain it to me? I said, I've been taking care of my kids. I'm going to take care of the kids the best. I know how to do this. He said, well, I'm not hiring you.
Wow. We ain't going to say his name. All right. So I'm going to skip around, but San Diego State to SMU, SMU to Cal, Niall Benjamin, Gerard Cherry,
Tony Gonzalez. Bobby Shaw.
Bobby Shaw, that's who I was thinking of.
Yep.
He was, I remember you telling me about Bobby Shaw.
Bobby Shaw was a young kid. Gilby didn't want to play. That's Keith Gilbert. That's a relationship with Keith Gilbert.
Yeah.
Got me back. Gilby didn't want to play him.
Why?
Because he was young.
Okay.
Young and a little skinnier or whatever, but man, Bobby could catch, and he had movement skills and all these things.
Yeah. So Cal's 1 year, 2 years?
1 year.
Okay.
Got fired.
So me and you were in the U-Haul. You took the job at Cincinnati. No.
Yep.
Yeah, you took the job at Cincinnati.
Yep.
You're driving us to St. Rose.
Yep.
You get a phone call.
Yep. Yep.
Who's that phone call?
Randy Shannon. Randy Shannon calls me and say, "Where you been?" I say, "I've been driving back. I'm getting ready to go to Cincinnati." He said, "Well, no, don't do it. Did you sign your contract?" I say, "No, I didn't sign a contract." He said, "Why? What's up?" He said, "Man, Charlie Williams just got the Tampa Bay job. Butch wants you to come coach the receivers." I said, "Oh, you're at Miami?" he said, "Yeah, I'm at the University of Miami." So drove in next day. I don't know if we unloaded the U-Haul or what. Or did we do it and brought it back?
Yeah,
or did we do it after?
No, we went to Pause and you flew out.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I even unloaded the U-Haul.
Oh, no. I don't think so.
So here's the deal. Wanted to get out of Cal because Cal was giving me all my money.
Because when you got fired.
When I got fired, usually they don't give you your money in one large deal.
Yeah.
Whereas Cal Berkeley was the UC system. You get fired, they fulfill the contracts.
Got you.
You get it all.
Uh-huh.
And so I go and I get this, the U-Haul, we drive down, we get out the car. The next morning I got a flight to Cincinnati, getting ready to go, maybe a 12 o'clock flight.
Yeah.
The flight was early, I might have been at Cincinnati.
Really?
Rick Minter already offered me. Ron Cooper said, "Hey, look, you got the Cincinnati job." He said, he said, "Man, Butch gonna call you about the Miami job." So what I did for Ron Cooper, when Brett Ingles, remember Brett? He was the coordinator there. He flew me in to help Charlie Ball coach receivers. So I clinicked him.
Got you.
And so I was out of a job then. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, man, I can't, I gotta take the job at Cincinnati. And so the next morning, Pete Garcia got on the phone and said, "Hey, CJ, look, we want you to come in. We want you to fly in." I said, "When you gonna fly me in?" He said, "Well, we'll fly you in sometime today." I said, "Well, wait a minute, Pete, I got a flight already." He said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to Cincinnati." He said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "I'm going to Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati. I don't have a job. I'm going for a job." He said, "Well, if we can convince you to come to Miami," I said, "Do I have a job?" He's like, "I can't give you the job, but I'm gonna put Butch Davis on the phone." I said, "Okay, well," I said, "I'm getting my stuff together to go to the airport." He said, "Well, if I can get you a flight out, because there's an 11 o'clock flight just going to Miami. From New Orleans straight to Miami. If I can get you in here, would you do that? Would you compromise that?" I said, I gotta have a job. He said, "I know your family situation. I know everything." He said, "Okay." So 5 minutes later, Butch calls me. "Hey, CJ, look, we just want you to come in. He's selling me on Miami. We got a good program. I need somebody to come handle these receivers, this, that, and the other. Need you to recruit and do this, that, and the other." So I can do all those things. I said, "Because, look, I don't have a job." I said, "I'm going to Cincinnati." I said, I got my kids, I got my nephew, I got my niece. Because Dominique would come live with us periodically too now.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, he's like, okay. He said, I'm gonna get this done. So you fly here, you show me you fly here, you will have a job here. I flew in, and now if you remember, we drove all night.
Yeah.
So I flew in, get to Miami, go sit the interview with the offensive coaches. We start talking about blocking. The first thing we start talking about blocking, press, push, crack the safety, do different techniques of blocking. Receivers got, this tough guy stuff, doing my receiver pitch. Butch calls me out. He said, you want the job? He said, I don't know how much you're gonna make, but I'm gonna tell you in a minute. I go back in there, they talking about blocking. I fall asleep in the interview. Oh. So, but Butch already told me I had the job. So I'm sitting there, I'm sleeping. So Donnie Sanchez goes, man, you sleeping in our interview? I said, I know. I said, Coach, I drove all the way down. So then Pete calls me out and Randy calls me out. He said, do you want this job? You got it. So I asked Randy, I said, Randy, who else coming in for this job? He said, you're the only one. He said, they're hiring you. If you want the job, you got the job. So I went back in the room. I said, well, he said, you. So Donnie's like, hey, man, I know you're tired, but you fall asleep on the interview and you're doing this. I said, well, they gave me the job. So our coach said, oh, congratulations.
Can you name the coaches on that staff?
Great staff, man, great staff. It was Greg Schiano, Chuck Pagano, Stoops, Randy Shannon. All of us was together.
Yeah.
All of us was together. Rob Chazinski was head coach at thing. It was me. It was Art Keogh, Donnie Solinger. Larry Coker was the coordinator at the time, and then Butch. And then the GAs were Mario Cristobal and Clint Hurt. Wow. Clint Hurt's the D coordinator at the Seattle Seahawks, and Mario's the head coach of Miami. And they were young bucks. I used to call them. Wow. Some coaches went through that, man. Some really good. Vernon Hargraves was on their staff too.
Yeah. So you get to Miami. Mm-hmm. Your first year, you have Jamie German, Omar Roll,
Yatil Green.
Wow, I forgot about Yatil.
Magic Benton.
Magic Benton.
First week of the season, Magic Benton was the National Player of the Week. And he took a kickoff back, or a punt, I think it was back against Memphis, and then caught a slant and went about 80. Man, he looked like I thought he was the fastest man in the world. Had Tony Gator.
Tony
Alligator.
Wow. How was that?
Here's the thing, the backstory on Miami. Miami was on probation at the time. They were talking about death penalty. They were talking about everything. And come to find out when the investigation was over, they probably self-imposed a probation that probably was too harsh.
Gotcha.
It was more lack of institutional control. Mm-hmm. And, it was good, but it was harsh.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the coaching staff, the Miami deal probably, I named the coaches, all those guys were head coaches on that staff now. And so I named the coaches on the staff just to let you know what kind of staff it was, but the coaches were amazing.
Yeah.
And so because they took it together, we get the worst penalty in the world was the penalty of the scholarships. We probably ended up with half scholarships. We couldn't replace them. We were creative, track scholarship. Butch and those guys were really brilliant. Butch and Pete Garcia, man, they worked the system. But it was tough though. We had a rough year.
Yeah. So when did Santana and Reggie
go the first year? We get there, win 8 or 9 games, maybe 9 games.
The first year?
At Miami, yeah.
Okay.
The first year, not the second year, the first year. Win 9 games at Miami and could go to a bowl game. 8 or 9 games, 8-3, 9-2, whatever it was, 9-3, whatever. I don't know exactly what it was. Yatil Green goes out and first round pick. I was telling him, don't you go out. Don't you dare go out. Don't you dare go out.
Because you wanted him to stay.
Yeah, because he needed to polish his game.
Got you.
But man, he was like the 16th pick.
He went to the Dolphins.
Went to the Dolphins.
Got you.
Then we had other guys, got Kennard Lang and Kenny Holmes and all those guys and because we played Florida State in the Orange Bowl. First time they beat us in an Orange Bowl in years, and man, it was like the worst thing that ever happened to those players.
Yeah.
Worst thing in the world. And so to make it funny, we go out, limited scholarships, and got a recruit. Had to come down here. That's when I got Reggie Wayne, got Ed Reed. Randy Shannon and I go out, a bunch of receivers. Looking at them, we need another receiver. We're gonna get somebody on a track scholarship. Go to see Jackson play, Miami Jackson. Man, they got 4 guys that can play. Go to Carroll City, they don't throw the ball. Yes. So Randy tells me, I want you to watch this kid in pregame. He said, now he won the long jump in the state. I want to say Santana might have jumped 25 feet in the meet.
What?
And Santana was in high school, and I want to say he may have been good enough to qualify for the NCAA qualification, but he could jump. So they throwing the ball in pregame. Ethnic Sands was the quarterback.
J-boy.
He jumps over the pit, because at Tres Powell, it was a track field. He jumps over the pit. I said, I want him. It's like, how you know? How you know you want him? How you know? And so I say, I want him. Explosion, he can catch. Now, Santana thing was I had to slow him down. He's too fast for any quarterback.
Yeah.
And so ended up getting him on track scholarship, because he had one scholarship, maybe Western Michigan or somewhere like that. He took the track scholarship, and I said, you're gonna end up playing that first year. Had Reggie walked on campus, he was a starter, just because we all those guys were gone.
Yeah.
And
that taught me a lesson.
What is that?
Because they started as true freshmen, right?
True freshmen, all 3 of them.
So I'm not on your level, but
You are on my level, Tubby. Come on.
JUCO, I was in the Jayhawk conference at Hutch, and I started like 2 true freshmen, and my head coach was like, "Yo, you sure you want to do that?" But I always remember, like, "Yo, you go with your gut, believe your eyes, whatever you see." And I remember starting some young guys in a conference 17, 18 years old, and I remember you with Santana and Reggie, because they played over. Was Jamie still there?
Yeah.
No, Magic was there.
Jamie was hurt, Magic, and Omar. But what happened, we played Florida State, and they quit. Florida State beat us so bad, man, they threw the quarterback into the goal pole, if you remember. I mean, Florida State literally, Bobby Bowden at the end of the game said, I want to say they beat us 47-0. They said this is no longer a rivalry. So here's the deal. We started, Santana, we were on probation. We had to finagle scholarships, had to finagle guys in the school. Like I told you before, Santana was one.
Yeah.
That was the story with Ed Reed. They wanted Ed Reed to be on a track scholarship because they knew he could throw the javelin, but he wasn't going to take a track scholarship. I wasn't going to let him because I know he was better. We had like Marquise Fitzgerald. We had Leonard Myers. Played for the Patriots, won a Super Bowl also. But it was a great class. It was, phenomenal guys in that class. The year that Reggie Wayne started, those guys were true freshmen.
Gotcha.
It was Reggie Wayne, Darryl Jones. They were 2 freshmen.
Forgot about Darryl.
And then, now we had Magic Benton, Omar Rowe, and Jamie German. Jamie was hurt. Jamie could have been a great receiver. Just got hurt. Magic was the best player. Could have been a DB receiver coming out of high school. I want to say he was the Gatorade player of the year, defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
He had crazy stats like Marshall did. And then Omar Rowe was one of the top players in the state, all-state player in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And so we had 3 good receivers. But they were used to doing things a certain way, and we couldn't win the way that they were used to doing it.
Yeah.
And so we played Florida State. Florida State, like I said, threw the quarterback into the goal pole. I mean, they beat us 47-0. Butch came in my office before the game, like a couple weeks before. We got to do this better. We got to do that. Like, okay. Then we argued. The one thing about me, I'm going to give you my opinion.
Yeah.
Not the opinion you want to hear. That's why you said about the freshmen playing, first-year players playing. I was adamant about he would go around a table, and I'm the one that me and Randy stopped him from doing this because he would go around the table. He said, okay, who you want to start? And I would adamant, I want to start Reggie Wayne, Daryl Jones, Santana Moss.
Mm-hmm.
You look, I'm going around the table again. I got Magic Ben, I got Omar Rowe, I got these guys. James, I got all these guys. These guys were all Americans, this, that, and why you want to start those freshmen, those kids? They were barely recruited, this, that, and the other. I said, okay. He said, I'm going around the room. Go next guy, go next guy. Got to Randy. Who you want to start? I want to start Dan Morgan. Oh, no, you can't start Dan Morgan. He's a freshman. He played fullback. He played linebacker before. Barely played that little 8-man football team. I'm going to ask you one more time, CJ, who you want to start? Went around. Reggie Wayne. Meeting's over. So, man, he was mad. He was beak red, lividly mad. Coming back from the Florida State game, he kept looking at me. So when the threes were in, Magic Benton got thrown to the ground by a third string safety, and the guy just shoving him in the ground on tape. And so he comes to me the next day, flying back. He just kept looking. He kept looking. And I knew it wasn't a look. It was a look of disgust, but it was a look that this guy may be on to something.
Gotcha.
So come in the office. He comes in my office. He don't say it in front of staff. He said, man, look, I don't care what you do with these receivers. He said, I got bigger fish to fry. He said, I got to get this defense together. Because we lost 47-0. Yeah. That's unheard of at Miami. Yeah. I mean, Warren Sapp just left. Ray Lewis just left. I mean, they had the baddest dudes on defense. All the DBs, all the offensive line, Russell Maryland, and all those guys were, they were in shouting distance of the program, and the program has gone down that fast. And I mean, he was feeling the heat. Yeah. But the probation took its toll. Guys going out early. I mean, Kenny Holmes, Kennard Lane, all those good players just left the program. Yeah. And Util Green could have helped us, and quarterback had a new quarterback, and I mean, it was a mess. Kind of right the ship a little bit, go up to BC. Daryl Jones catches a post corner in overtime. Got there, ended up doing the unthinkable, lost some games. Now, VTech beat us. I mean, these guys were kids that we were playing with. Yeah. Old linemen, linebackers, they were kids. VTech beat us. Syracuse, man, I'll never forget. Donovan Darius and them, man, they were, Donovan McNabb. Yeah. They were calling timeouts at the end of the game. They beat us like 66-14 one year. And I mean, it was the worst feeling in the world. I called the receivers out. It's on a 30 for 30. I said, look at this. I said, this will never happen again. I mean, they were just cheering. And because, I mean, Miami, we've been the baddest guys in the conference. And now all of a sudden, they had a chance, and they did it to us, man. They never beat us again. Yeah. I mean, it was just one thing after another's bad year. We go 6-5, and the heat is on. Mm-hmm. 5-6, and the heat is on. And, we revamped what we were doing. We got Andrew Swayze there. Yeah. And it was from there, I mean, it kind of took off. It took a little time because they were young. The next year, I want to say we went 9-3 or 9-3. Next year we went 10. And then the third year was the year we knew, we go to Washington, get beat early. And one thing about me, I'll take the blame. Santana Moss was one of the toughest kids that you could ever be around because he had his jaw sewn shut because he broke his jaw in practice one day. Couldn't put a mouthpiece, couldn't open his jaw. Said it, kept practicing, couldn't do nothing to it to hurt it, but just kept practicing. Mm-hmm. And to make a long story short, he heard that we played in the University of Washington. This is 2 years later, and only game we lost this year. And I shoulder the blame. It's 99-2000 season. Shoulder a lot of blame because he was playing well. Great camp. Reggie played well. He had a high ankle sprain. Could have started Darryl Jones. Played. I probably would have scored one of those games going back and forth. It's third down. I want to say they were winning 35-31. Reggie had a break. Man, you knew that game. Reggie was a grown man. Was going to be a first round pick. Mm-hmm. That was the game. You go back to that University in Washington. Man, Santana catches a option route. Never forget. And he needed a yard to keep the drive going. It kind of limped out of bounds, and that was 4th down. And had a high ankle sprain, and I should have played. And I knew I should have put Darryl Jones in the game. Mm-hmm. But Santana been so good, so explosive, he would never make that. Now, I'm not saying we'd have won the game, but it would have been down there, and we'd had a chance. They got the quarterback. They go in, and we couldn't stop the option. They win the game, and that was the last game we lost for 3 years.
Swayze broke this down to me, and it kind of like opened my eyes when you talk about like the argument about greatest college football teams and all that. Mm-hmm. So 2000, guys lost to Washington, but you didn't get put in a national title game.
Nope, did not.
But
similar.
If you would have, let's say you win the national title that year, 2001, you guys win it. 2002, go to Ohio, play Ohio State. Bad call. Guy says it's a bad call after. So you're looking at a 3-year run of dominance. If two things happen, it's arguably, not even arguably anymore, the greatest college football team, ever. And it's like, you guys were dominant.
It was rock star status. I would have guys in the pros calling me and asking me, man, how good. The Houston Texans flew me down to clinic them on evaluations and recruiting and receivers. Not the coaches, the front office. Flew me down. Uh-huh. Flew me down for a weekend to you can stay as long as you want.
Yeah.
When they drafted Andre Johnson, after they drafted Andre Johnson. Here's why it's going to be hard to say, you know what, this is not the greatest team. Generally, you could say the Alabama team is the one I think comes to mind that's the closest. And the argument against us may be the quarterback.
Gotcha.
When we had Ken Dorsey, he was a facilitator. We never struck gold with the greatest quarterback, but just the line of receivers.
Yeah.
Just the line of running backs.
DBs.
Just the line of DBs, the D line, the linebackers. It's just so many of them, and the tight ends, and they never stayed. Now, when have you ever heard of a team that 4 guys go out the next year, then 5 guys go out, then 6 guys go out, then 5 guys go out, then 4 guys go out? Yeah. And these are the first rounders.
Yeah.
It's not second round. Like LSU, you argue about receivers. You guys had 2 first rounders, and they were great players, but man, the next kid, when I was a second rounder, the next one was 6. Only guys I'm talking first rounders.
Yeah, yeah.
They want to argue that point. I said, look at the D linemen. Those guys were. It's the Alabama team with Mark Ingram and those guys were probably the closest. Now, Alabama, to Nick Saban's credit, he figured out a way to sustain it because you asked me who's the greatest college coach ever. I think it's Nick Saban for what he's done.
Yeah.
Where he's gotten his teams and he's reaching recruiting and he's over the moon. Kirby, Spartan, those guys, Sartees, all those guys are good because of Nick. But that team, that 2001 team,
yeah.
You lose Ed Reed, you replace him with Sean Taylor. Come on, man.
It's dear to my heart, UM, even though I wasn't.
You like my kids.
Yeah, it's just
you guys are when Look, we went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
They were, okay. Man, they were national championship. They UM. They probably were on the phone. They probably wish UM would have won another title.
Yeah.
And we would have lost to the coach in the Super Bowl. But you, it's like anything else. It's where you grew up at.
Yeah.
It's like you listen to the same songs your mother and your father listened to because it's the songs that you know, the songs they play in the car. Well, it's your.
So funny because I have the Face and Snug listening to Maze.
I bet you they don't know the words. And you'll be like, wait, so Keyshawn and them, we'll be going somewhere doing something. I'll play an old song and they'll start singing the words. I'm like,
yeah. What I would like to do is, I just want you to say a word, or I'm gonna name some players,
okay,
and then you just give me. We'll start with the receivers. Roscoe.
Explosive, smart. Was a quarterback in high school. Man, probably the smallest, quick guy besides Darren Sproles in a return game that I've ever coached.
Yeah.
Man, he was quick. He was, man, great ball skills, can catch. I wish I'd have had him a little bit longer and he got a little bit bigger. Yeah. I thought Roscoe was outstanding.
Santana.
No. Besides not going to the right team, on draft day, me and Swayze was watching the draft. Santana goes, I want to say the 16th pick to the Jets. Reggie goes to the 31st pick to the Colts, and I'm like, man, it's going to turn out bad for Santana.
Yeah.
You know, and Santana had a great career, don't get me wrong, but it never materialized.
It didn't mirror what he really was.
Yeah, what he really was, man, the best, greatest, smart, another smart guy. Came a long ways in the receiver game because in high school they ran the ball.
Yeah.
He might have caught 10 balls, I'm gonna say his senior year.
Yeah.
I'll say 20 maybe. But man, he was explosive, one of the most powerful, explosive guys ever been around.
Reggie Wayne.
Best hands ever. Mike Thomas, when you say hands, Mike Thomas, Reggie Wayne, Marcus Colston. You know, man, smooth route runner. He was the best route running receiver ever because he's gonna get mad at me. He was 4'6". He played at 4'6".
Yeah.
Jerry Rice was 4'6".
Yeah.
But man, smooth, play strong hands, big, played a physical game. You know, I remember we were playing in the two things I remember. He came back from his knee surgery. We played Ohio State in New York. He had a knee surgery his junior year. Came back, man, in record time, maybe sophomore year to junior year. The end of the Ohio State game, we played Ohio State in one of those classic games. Man, he caught a curl and just caught it, turned it up. I said, he's ready to roll. He's back.
Yeah.
Caught about 3 or 4 balls. But that play exemplified what he was, why it's criminal that he and Devin Hester aren't in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And Andre Johnson. It's the most ludicrous thing that you could ever even think of. It's criminal.
One of my, I don't know, people may not know this, but one of my personal favorites, Jason Gathers.
If JG would just put a little bit more time and effort into it, JG might have been the second best athlete ever, besides Andre.
Really?
JG could play running back. We go to the swamp. JG catches a screen and go about 40 and then touchdown. He starts swinging the bat. Get out. Home run. I mean, athletic, could play receiver. It's hard to play receiver and then play running back. I mean, true wide receiver. It's not like he was playing the slot or whatever, man. He was a guy who run a curl and made a big play and he'll catch a deep end, and then the next thing you know, man, he's in the backfield. And the thing about JG, he'd do it in a week. He'd be playing receiver. Him and Andre, I'll never forget him and Andre playing 1 week in Penn State. Man, you could argue that they were the best 2 receivers on the field when we played Penn State.
Yeah.
And they were first year kids. Fast forward about 3 weeks later, Clinton Portis get hurt for a shoulder or something that he couldn't play a game. JG was starting at running back. JG was a monster.
Andre Johnson.
Oh,